Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone is having a fantastic week and you're getting after it. Today, we're going to be talking about the most effective strategies for setting your 12-month plans. Now that we're getting into the new year, a lot of people are setting up their quarterly plans, what it is they're hoping to accomplish by the end of the year. And this is one of the things that we know for a fact most people really struggle with, either because they don't know exactly what it is they're trying to build, or they don't have the awareness within their KPIs to drive the right insights to choose what are the correct milestones that we need to be able to hit on a monthly and quarterly basis to make hitting our annual goal inevitable. And the result of that is a lot of folks who are just focused on increasing their revenue by a slim margin. And the result is, as you scale and grow your business, your life actually gets worse. You get busier and busier and busier as you build your business. And so Ben and I want to jump in here to share some very simple strategies and tips that we use within our own businesses to not only plan out our entire year, but to smash our annual goals year after year while making our lives easier in the process. Because that's how you're supposed to be growing a business. It should get easier as you grow it. And so we're going to share all of the tips and tricks that we have for all of you on what we follow in our own business. So if you're here this morning, if you're watching us live on YouTube or in our Facebook community, say what's up, drop something in the comments, drop your goals this year. We'd love to hear them and help you work through any of the constraints and issues we know a lot of practice owners deal with when setting up their 12-month plan. Ben, good morning, man.
Morning. No, I think it's going to be a
View's
good one.
looking nice.
What's that?
The view's looking nice.
Yeah, I'm in San Diego now, so needed to get some sun. So
is that my building where I'm going to be staying right behind you?
Yeah, it's actually, I think it is that direction.
Dude, if our balconies face each other, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to be so annoying if I can't. Anyway, man. Annual planning. Obviously, we already laid our targets for the year, but I'm curious, like for you, what are some of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're setting their annual goals?
Yeah, a lot of times, and this is what I did too, my first 1 or 2 years in business is I only set business goals and I didn't set personal ones. It was all just about the business. And in the last 3 years, what I've been doing is actually filling out, it's called a VTO through EOS. It's a great document that walks you through on how to set goals, and a really good chart that will help you reverse engineer where you want to be going in 10 years, and then reverse engineer to 3 and then into 1. And so I fill out the vision tracker for personal, and then that helps me guide what I need to do for the business, right? Like if I want to hit X personal revenue goal, then I know that I need to have X profit. Right? If I need X profit, then I need to be hitting X revenue. So it allows me to figure out how much I need to be generating in my practice from a financial standpoint. And then also from a time freedom standpoint, what do I want to be able to do, in the next year? Like maybe I want to do a trip to Italy or something like that. Mm-hmm. I can't be working in the business, right? So how do I start getting my time back? Okay, now I know that for me to get my time back, I need to hire. Okay, great. Now when I go fill out my business goals, I know that hiring is going to have to be on there, right? So you can see how the personal goals start shaping your business. Like for example, like if somebody's like thinking about having kids in 2 or 3 years, like they realize they want to have more time with their family, with their kids, with their wife, with their spouse. And in order to do that, again, they need to hire. So how do we go about structuring the business in a way that is going to allow us to be able to hit our personal goals that we have as well?
Right. And I want to dive into that a little bit deeper because I couldn't agree more with the necessity of building out your 12-month and 3-year just future vision that includes the life that you actually want to have. Because there's so many people that, sure, they may have built a 7-figure practice, but they are absolutely miserable. I just had a call with someone that joined one of our programs. This was earlier this week. And I could just tell immediately how stressed this person was, where they're making the money, but their profit margin wasn't really where it needed to be. And you could just you know that this person putting in 60-hour weeks, they don't have the lifestyle and the time that they wish they had. They don't have that vitality and energy to keep going, and they're burning out. And so I want to dig into that because it's so key. Just for those of you who are watching us, this is what a vision traction organizer looks like. This is from a book called Traction. If you're new to entrepreneurship, or maybe even a veteran, but you have not read Traction, that is an absolute must of business. It is a pretty thick, it is a thick book, but everything in there is so crucial to building a healthy, successful business. If you want a shorter version of that, let me pull it back to my screen here. Here's a condensed. Were you able to see the screen that I was just sharing?
No, I couldn't see the screen. It was just, yeah, I couldn't see it.
Okay. Well, this is the book that you're going to want, and this breaks down exactly what the Vision Traction Organizer actually looks like. Tells you how to fill it out. Let me see. It's right here. Okay, so it's basically this worksheet that breaks down every single thing you need based off of your 10-year vision, 3-year vision, 1-year goal. What are your biggest issues? What are your core values? And really helps you solidify a really effective plan for growing and scaling. And so this is definitely the foundation that we use to grow our business. But let's cover the things that this book maybe doesn't cover as well as it definitely should, which is building a business that creates the life that you actually want to have. Because a lot of people, they just purely focus on business milestones. And by doing so, they accidentally make their entire identity tied to the business, which is a really, really dangerous thing to do because it leads to burnout every single time. And in order to have a well-balanced life and to have the energy that we can bring into our business and bring joy to it and have fun doing it, we definitely have to have these other personal goals with time we spend within our relationships, times we have socially, things that we do just for ourselves, so that when business inevitably ebbs and flows, we have enough of success outside of business where we don't feel those. We're not emotionally attached to the ebbs and flows of business anymore. And that allows us and reminds us it's like, we are not our business. Our business is just our job, but we have a life outside of it. And that's so important. And I can't overestimate how important that actually is, because everyone who doesn't do it burns out eventually and then realizes that the key to break through to the next level of success in their business is actually taking a little bit of time away from their business and focusing on other things within their life, which it sounds counterproductive, but it's so true. If you're not happy, that energy is going to seep into your business and it's going to plateau at some point. It's inevitable if you're not taking care of yourself. So Ben, what are some of the goals that you said that you set outside of business?
Yeah, so it can be it depends on the individual, right? It can be like, hey, I want to be able to, take this trip, or I want to be able, and because that's the thing too, is it's the 10-year, it's a 3-year, it's a 1 year, and then it's a quarterly goal. And so you really want to start with that 10-year goal. Like, what do you envision and what do you want your 10-year, your life to look like in 10 years, right? And then you're going to be able to see like, well, if I want that in 10 years, what am I going to have to be doing? What is my life going to have to look like in 3 years to be on track to have that 10-year life? Okay, great. If that's in 3 years, now what do I need to do this year to be able to be on track for the 3-year? And then great. Okay, got that down. Now, what do I need to do in the next 9 days in this first quarter to be able to be on track to hit my yearly goals? And then also on this EOS doc, it has what's called an issues list. Issues list, like what is preventing me from being able to hit my quarterly goals. So now you can start working on things today and this week to be able to be on track for your quarterly goals, which means you're on track for your year, which means you're on track for your 3, which means you're on track for your 10. So it just makes it more digestible for you to be able to figure out how to be on track, because that's the thing is people set these like lofty 10-year goals and have no idea how to go about doing it. So it really makes you think about what in bite-sized chunks, what needs to happen for you to be able to be on track for those. But yeah, curious on how you go about it, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about like living a life by design and realizing that your practice is nothing more than the vehicle for delivering the impact, life, and income that you ultimately want to have. And so you got to think about all 3 of those those elements. Like, what do you want to accomplish in your professional life? What kind of impact and income do you want to make? What do you want your personal life to be like? What kind of time do you want to have to do the things that you love and pursue that are maybe outside of business? What do you want your relationships to look like with your significant other or with your friends and with your family? And how do you want to interact with strangers and people outside of your circle? These are all things that you need to keep in mind of, like, this is the life I actually want to have, because it's going to challenge you to think bigger and deeper about what it is I need to accomplish this year. Because if you're only focusing on increasing your revenue by 25%, well, then because you're not also keeping one eye on, well, how am I protecting my energy and my time and making sure that I'm living the life that I want to have? So it's going to force you to think a little bit bigger of like, okay, I want to increase revenue by this much, but I also want to have Mondays and Tuesdays where I don't have to treat patients, and I want to be able to drop my kids off at school. Okay, having all of those parameters and those elements as part of your vision is going to help you create a more streamlined and thorough plan to make that happen. And so again, it's remembering that we don't have to wait until our business hits some arbitrary number to start building the life we want. The actual key to having success is figuring out how can I build those things into my practice now so that I can bring the most amount of joy into everything that I'm doing, so that I have the most energy to be able to pour into not only my patients, but my team. And how am I optimizing my life that's going to make other physical therapists want to come and join my team? And so it really comes down to having a big vision. That's not just business, but like your philosophy and how you live your life. Because especially if you're looking to hire this year, you will very rarely you will never retain a physical therapist that has a bigger vision than you. And so you need to think bigger than just your business. What's the impact you want to have? What's the life you want to have? What are the core values that you embody that make life fun and joyful? And that's what's going to attract not only patients, but other PTs and staff in your life. So think big. I'd recommend reading the book 10X is Easier Than 2X. Ben, you want to kind of explain the 10X principle?
Yeah, it pretty much just means that if you have a larger business, you have more resources at your disposal to help business grow, make your life easier, have more time freedom than if you are, a small practice. And I think that you actually brought up a great point that I was about to discuss. Is the great thing about this goal setting doc is it really makes you visualize and figure out, like, it helps you figure out holes in your thinking. So this is like for example, a really common thing for people that are just starting out is like, oh, once I get to, a full-time caseload, I'm good. Right. Mm-hmm. But what they don't realize is if you actually set your personal goals for like time freedom to be able to do X, Y, and Z, or spend this much amount of time, with your spouse, with the kids, there's holes in that because it's really considered what people have considered as a lifestyle business. There's nothing lifestyle about having a full-time caseload and then doing all the sales, marketing, and all that. And unless you are actually setting your personal goals and tying it towards your business, you're not going to realize that, hey, actually, when I have a full-time caseload, I'm not going to have this time freedom. I need to hire. Oh, wow, I need to hire. Like, it really sets in that actually, yes, by getting a full-time caseload, it's actually going to actually not align with my personal goals. Even though they think that, hey, when you're starting a business, I just want to get a full caseload. But realize if you're really tying it back to your personal goals, it actually goes completely against it. So you need to make sure that you are beginning with end in mind so you can start structuring that. So you can start thinking about hiring maybe when you're around 10 patients per week because it takes some time. Now you're going to be at 15, 20 before you're able to actually bring somebody on. So it really does a good job of poking holes in your thinking and how it's going to tie to your personal life. So
right.
The 10X is easier than 2X. It pretty much just says the same thing, that a lifestyle business is actually way harder than actually if you grow and scale a real business and start hiring and delegating as well.
Yeah. And another way to look at it too is like when you set loftier goals that are scarier and bigger, it forces us to ask better questions. Because if you just want to increase your revenue by $5,000 next month, well, then your thinking is going to be like, okay, I'll just do like one more workshop, or I'll spend a little bit more on ads. But if you're asking yourself, like, how can I go from $20K a month to $50,000 a month this quarter, that's going to challenge your thinking a lot more, where it's like, okay, well, need to bring on another PT. Yeah, I need to do some more workshops, maybe spend some more on ads, but maybe I'm going to focus a lot more on creating more content that's out there, or look for referral partners are in town where it's like, if they just sent an email to their email list, my business would blow up. And so you're forced to think bigger and more strategically about what's actually going to move the needle, and whether or not you hit that goal doesn't really matter, because you thought big and you took bigger action, which is going to lead to astronomically bigger results and faster results than if you were just trying to add $5,000 to $5,000 a month. And so it's really challenging our thinking and aiming big. And if thinking big and planning the end of your year and hoping for these big lofty goals feels super uncomfortable and unrealistic, just know that it's kind of supposed to, because we're supposed to be setting goals that are just out of reach, which means that currently at the time that we set those goals, we aren't the versions of ourselves that are capable of doing that. And so in order to hit that goal, yeah, we have to work on the business, but it also means that we have to work on ourselves. And the more we work on ourselves, the more obvious it is to us that the goal we set is actually extremely attainable. And so it should feel uncomfortable. It just means that you need to change your daily behaviors and actions that are more in alignment with the version of yourself that you envision already having those things. So something I thought was interesting when I was doing research for our upcoming event, Ben, was on average, high performers that achieve more and enjoy life more than other people, they spend 60 minutes more than the average person envisioning and thinking about the person that they want to be and about their goals, so that every day the actions they're taking are in alignment with the person they're trying to become. That makes the goal an inevitability. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's like where you put your attention, that's what's gonna grow. And if you're putting it towards vision and what you want your life to be, obviously that's where it's going to be impacted. So it makes total sense.
Right. It's a hell of a lot harder to just go through the motions and just live a life of randomness and reactivity when you don't have a super clear vision of what it is that you're trying to create. Because when you have a crystallized vision of who you want to be and what you want to have and the impact you want to create, well, then it's like you have this bigger drive of necessity that you need in order to do some of the things that we don't want to do each day, or to remind ourselves it's like, okay, yeah, I could be doing notes and I could send a few emails and here or there, but I know for a fact that in order to hit my goal, I should really be focusing my attention over here on this thing that maybe I'm not as good at and less comfortable doing. But without that connection to the future and what you're trying to build, it's really easy to just get caught in the day-to-day crap and not making it, and it being harder for you to like check yourself on the activities that you're doing.
Yeah, you're spot on with that. I was just going to say that. It's like, we're just kind of get richer in that sense of like, if you have more time, to work on, visionary stuff and what you want for your life. And the only way you get that is by starting to delegate and getting some of your time back. And it's so much easier. Like, it's so much easier for me now to start to be able to think about those things on a regular basis than it was when I was starting out, when I was, seeing 25 patients a week, because you're trying to just stay afloat. And so it's like, I barely have time to do everything else. How can I do this visionary stuff and really think about what I want? Because I'm so busy trying to just stay afloat and keep my head above water too. So I keep harping on it, but it's one of the biggest fallacies in the physical therapy profession right now, is that lifestyle business and just getting full-time and then you're good to go. And you work 3 days per week and you're good to go. Now, right, you're working you're seeing only 20, 25 patients a week, but you're working 60 to 80 hours to do everything else in your business too.
Perfect example. One of our clients, he was a solo, got him ramped up to like 15, 20K a month. He was making more money than he ever had. Crazy great client. So happy. But he took some of the money that he made and they went on a vacation. I think they went to Japan. And then when they got back, he was really stressed out because it's like, oh my gosh, like I built this thing up to 15 to 20K and now I'm literally starting over from scratch. And it took a while to get him ramped back up again. And so it's like, it's so volatile to go at it by yourself. But anyway, I want to digress this back to something actionable for those of you who are listening to this. So if you take one thing out of what Ben and I have been talking about for the last like 10 minutes or so, is that having absolute clarity on what it is that you want to create in your life your life first is the most important thing to creating a plan for your business, because your business is a vehicle to create the life that you want. And so you have to know the life that you want to create first. And then if you're struggling with like, well, what's a good revenue goal? Think about the life you want to have. Think about the percentage that you get paid from the profits of the business, and think of like, okay, how much money do I need to have that kind of life? Well, then now I can reverse engineer that, be like, okay, that means I need to make this much within my business for me to make this much, which means I need this many patients. And based off of this conversion rate that I have, I know I need this many leads, which is going to help you determine, it's like, okay, if I need 50 leads a month, do I want to spend all of that on Facebook ads? Maybe not, because we're spending $30 a lead and you need 50 leads. That's 1,500 some lead or dollars that you need to spend every single month. Maybe you don't want to do that. So it's like, okay, I'll spend $1,000 a month on Facebook ads. How am I going to make up for the remaining 20 to 30 leads I need a month? Okay, that means I need to do 1 or 2 workshops every single month. How am I going to structure my schedule around doing those things? And so it starts with the vision for your life. Reverse engineer that to figure out what the business needs to do in order to deliver that life to you, whether it's marketing, sales, acquisition, or hiring people to get your time back, to help you determine what is the plan that I actually need to do to create that life for myself. But it all starts with clarity and vision. So ask yourself, what is the life that you want? How do you want your personal life to be? How do you want your relationships with your spouse to look? How do you want your relationship with strangers to look? And what do you want your professional life to look like? How much time are you spending working? How much are you making? What are your relationships with your staff ultimately look like? What's the impact you want to make? Ask yourself all of those questions and then reverse engineer that to find out what your 1-year goal should be. Now, getting there, setting your actual milestones, this is going to be a rapid fire session here. Ben, do you want to cover like how to identify what the constraints are within the year, how to set your rocks and milestones?
Like within the business?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for us, like example, was our constraint was hiring last year. And so that's what we figured out was like, actually, we don't need more new patients. We actually had a wait list. So am I going to actually spend more on marketing? No, we don't. That's not our constraint. Right. And so realized, hey, we got a wait list. It's actually, we don't have enough supply, aka services, right? We don't have enough services. We need one more PT, right? And so that's where we're putting all of our efforts in the new year, is a hiring and recruitment piece and retention piece. And so if I spend any other time on anything else, it's actually wasted time, because that's not the main constraint. I need to be focusing all my time on hiring and recruitment. That's the main thing. So we're working on building out more robust processes and systems to be able to do that. Now okay, how do we go about doing that? Okay, now we're going to start doing is hosting Con Ed courses. And we're also giving our current staff referral bonuses that if they bring a friend or like colleague into it, they actually get their course paid for.
Nice.
Because we view it as a chance for us to actually recruitment, because they're actually attending a course that is very similar to, like, we're doing barbell rehab. If they're interested in barbell rehab, they're going to be a good fit for the practice, right? They come and see the space and get to know us, and then that's a great way for us to recruit, right? So, okay, now how do we make these connections? So you can see how, again, reverse engineering what is a constraint, and then figuring out what needs to happen to be able to not have that constraint. Because again, any other time wasted on or spent on anything else but your main constraint, it's a waste of time. So that's how I go about it, Jordan. But
100%. So to kind of preface that, you need to track your numbers in order to properly identify your constraints. Otherwise, your solution is always going to be, I need more patients, and it's always going to be more marketing, more sales. But very often, the thing that's keeping a business from growing and scaling is not marketing and sales. It's something that's deeper within the business, like your average visits per patient, or your average lifetime value per patient. So there's all these other metrics that you need to know in order to figure out, like, what's the real problem that we have. Otherwise, you're just filling water into a leaky bucket. And so we have to have the skills and the tools to be able to identify, like, where is the whole current biggest constraint in my practice? And then each quarter should be focused on that single constraint and have laser focused on one thing. Many of you are trying to do too much at once in a quarter, and you're greatly overestimating what you can accomplish in a month or in that quarter, and greatly underestimating what you're capable of accomplishing in 12 months if you stay laser focused on solving one problem at a time. And so within your practice, at any given time, there's only 5 potential areas where your practice is stuck. Okay, there's lead acquisition, there's lead nurturing, conversions, fulfillment, and retention. And because Ben is very religious about tracking his numbers, he knew that fulfillment was his issue because he had the lead volume. His lead nurturing was good because his lead to booking or phone call rate was really, really good. He knows his team is excellent at conversions, and he had a wait list, which is the big glowing number on his spreadsheet that says like, okay, this is where we need to spend our time optimizing next. We need another PT in here to solve this wait list that's going to increase our revenue to X. And so we actually have a tool that I'm cool with sharing with everyone. I didn't plan on doing this, but we have a tool for auditing your practice within those 5 key mechanisms. If you want access to this practice self-assessment, just put 5 mechanisms in the chat below. We'll follow up with you with that resource, and it's going to give you prompts and questions that's going to help you identify and score yourself in each of those areas. So you're going to score each of those areas out of 5 based off of certain criteria. And then based on that, it's going to be really obvious which one of these constraints are the biggest problem. And then your Q1 goal is going to be turning that constraint and getting it into a 5 out of 5. And then the next quarter, you're going to redo that assessment and find out, okay, now lead nurturing is our biggest constraint. We have a ton of leads, but we're really bad at getting them actually on the schedule. Now we need better lead nurturing systems, better content, better emails, better follow-up strategies to increase that lead to booking rate. And so that's how you're going to break down your quarters. You're going to do an audit of each of those 5 mechanisms, find out where the biggest problem is, because solving any other issue in the practice before you solve the biggest constraint is going to have no return or diminishing returns. And so we have to know which is the biggest problem, solve that first, and don't switch until you solved that problem. 9:05. I think we nailed it, dude.
Yeah, no, that's good.
What anything else to add?
No, I think it's spot on. It's just, it just comes back to it truly is a waste of time if you're focusing on anything else but the main constraint. You tackle that, you move on to the next one. That's really as what business is in the most simplified form.
Right. And build it to build the life that you want. If you want to have patients want to be around you, you have to have a lot of energy, not extroverted or introverted, like energy that you can pour into people, because it's your energy that attracts people into your life. If you want to attract PTs that want to work with you, well, you need to have a big vision for what you want to create. If you only want to hire one physical therapist, well, what's their growth opportunity? Why would they want to come and work for you if there's no opportunity for growth within your organization? So you need to have a big vision, and you need to be focusing on taking care of yourself so that people actually want to be around you. Because when you're happy, you have energy, you're building a successful business, people want to be around you because they have things to learn. You being your best self gives other people permission to do the same. And so start with what you want to create and start creating it, because that's what's going to make selling to patients easier and attracting world-class hires infinitely easier. So if you guys want the 5 mechanisms self-practice assessment, Carrie, I'll send that to you right away. And it's going to give you so much clarity. It's going to be humbling, but it's going to give you so much clarity and help you put together a more effective plan to win in 2025. Everyone, if you got value out of this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, share your thoughts below. Go over to wherever you listen to your podcast and subscribe to the Cash Physical Therapy Headquarters podcast, or jump over to our YouTube channel, Cash Physical Therapy School, and subscribe for weekly content on what is working right now in the world of Cash Physical Therapy. Thanks, everybody. Catch you later.